This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
The judicial system currently accommodates criminal courts and an election court, but if the Constitutional Commission has its way, it'll also include a court that specifically hears constitutional issues. Chairman of the Constitutional Committee, Mr. Sean McQueenie.
There should be provision made for a constitutional court. Now, this doesn't really require a constitutional amendment because this can be done within the context of the existing Supreme Court Act. But it's interesting, that in the Constitution, we took great care in 1973 to create an election court to make sure that the MPs and would-be MPs were taken care of, but we don't have any mechanism for creating something as fundamental as a constitutional court. But happily, that is something which doesn't require a constitutional amendment. That can be done administratively by the Chief Justice.
Now, there was much discussion on same-sex marriage ahead of the Commission releasing its report. Some persons attending town meetings were of the view that adding sex as a ground for discrimination was a way to introduce support for same-sex marriage. Chairman McQueenie dealt with that concern this way.
This will not have the effect of rendering same-sex marriages okay. The Commission is very clear on this, that a proviso should be inserted to the effect that discrimination on the basis of sex, this new clause, this new ground that is being put in, that it is not the intention to change the existing law under which same-sex marriage is void.
Well, there's been much speculation about what caused that power outage at Clifford Park this past Independence, which led to a break in ZNS's television transmission during the live broadcast. Another media outlet quoted BEC blaming the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas for the outage, although a statement issued by the power company doesn't place the blame on the corporation. In fact, BEC officials deny blaming the BCB for the outage. Now, here's what was said in the initial statement. The company explained that, as is policy, discussions were had with the relevant agencies responsible for the independent celebrations about the required electrical supply. The company went on to suggest that after the said discussions, there were no additional requests for supplies. However, on the night of the event, BEC says the demand exceeded projected capacity. This, BEC says, was to blame for the overload of its circuits on the upper ground at Clifford Park. But at no point did the company blame the Broadcasting Corporation for the outage. Now, today, the BCB issued a statement denying that it was at fault. In fact, the statement said that BEC did in fact confirm with ZNS personnel the corporation's power requirement on the morning of Tuesday, July 9, 2013, and provided 100 amps of power directly from one of its electrical poles on the upper grounds. The corporation said ZNS's total power demand actually required less than 30 amps, which means the company had more than sufficient power to run its equipment comfortably, provided no other equipment was added to that power source. The Broadcasting Corporation concluded its statement saying it will continue to work closely with BEC and all relevant agencies to ensure national events are broadcast without these types of failures. And although there is no official word on this just yet, ZNS News understands that another agency was in fact responsible for that outage.
As part of the 40th anniversary independence celebrations, the Prime Minister officially launched the University of the Bahamas Oral and Public History Institute, called From That Time. The institute opened at the Harry Seymour Library this week and will be an addition to the college's expansion. As our Sayan Thompson tells us, the institute has been in the making for decades now.
Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, putting his stamp of approval on From That Time, the College of the Bahamas' new Oral and Public History Institute. The institute will record stories of our country's struggles, sufferings and victories through the eyes of elder Bahamians and relay these stories to the younger generation. Topics featured are majority rule, the journey to independence, and contributions made by Bahamians.
Countries can only be advanced if their institutions become the bank, the treasury of information relevant to the country. Therefore, this College of the Bahamas, which I hope will be the University of the Bahamas by 2015, must become aggressive in its understanding of our country and claim an interest in the country, a stake in the country, through recognizing that professors have to be intimately involved in the understanding of the country, what makes it work, and where the country ought to be going.
Chairman of COB Alfred Sears has always been passionate about documenting the country's history through various forms. Mr. Sears stated that the Institute will provide information that can be used for educational purposes within public and private schools, for residents and for visitors.
To ensure that we live up to the 4 pillars of our public commitment, that is excellence in teaching, research, innovation, and service.
Independence Committee co-chair Charles Carter is one of those patriotic Bahamians who saw the need to document the lives of many of our icons. He believes this will continue to strengthen our history base.
Was that the stories that I came across, especially people in our family islands, was so enriching. I started to record those too. And so at the end of the day, the Young Bahamian Show became an institution in this country.
Director and oral historian from that time, Dr. Tracy Thompson, informed the audience that this project has been a labor of love that finally came to life.
From that time, or FDT as we call it, is a new unit of the college with a big task ahead of it. That task is to bring our own voices to the telling of our own story.
From that time, organizers mounted an exhibition at the Harry C. Moore Library featuring scores of Bahamians. COB's Institute for Oral History is expected to provide resources for cultural and civic institutions across the Bahamas. For the ZNS Network News, I'm Cyan Thompson.
Well, some 40 Junkanoo All-Stars, led by businessman Nelson Armley, will be heading to Canada in a matter of weeks to participate in the Caravana Toronto Festival. It's one of the biggest cultural events outside the United States. The Ministry of Youth is partnering with Armley in the initiative, and Minister of Youth Dr. Daniel Johnson noted that the event will showcase Bahamian culture before some 3 million visitors to Canada.
This decision brings us to the business of culture. The largest festival now in the Western Hemisphere on the eastern seaboard of North America has become Caravana. It is a Caribbean celebration that happens in Toronto every summer around our Emancipation Day. This year we've announced that the Bahamas is going to come roaring back into Caravana and show the prominence of our culture, our artisans, our music, the vibrancy of how vibrant we are as a people. And we intend to now have a category band in Caravana this year.
Now, the 40-member group that will participate in Caravana includes Junkanooers from all of the major groups. And even though they will be parading with the Toronto connection, Armley says they will be dressed in locally made costumes and will display our national colors.
I want to say thank you to them, because if it wasn't for them, this wouldn't be possible at all, because they're making sacrifices to come. You know, they're spending some of their own monies, you know, paying for food and stuff like that. They're actually assisting, not taking the time off from work to make this happen. So without them, you know, this wouldn't be. But they share in the dream. They want to see Junkanoo represented, you know, in the world. When we got in 2009, we saw so many other countries represented, and the one country that was missing was the Bahamas. And this was in front of over almost 2 million people.
Well, they knew their due dates were during the month of July, but the July 10th birthday was just the luck of the draw. The mothers, 22-year-old Ratisha Adderley and 21-year-old Shanae Fernander, gave birth just after 3 p.m. on Independence Day. The mothers were happy to share their thoughts on the birth of their babies. First a baby boy, and 3 hours later, a little girl.
I'm very excited because this is my first, and she's born on the 40th year independence, so I want to give God thanks because I'm very, very excited. Her name is Arajane.
Well, I feel kind of good because I was sort of planning it for him to be born on Independence Day, so it feels good. His name is Ryoku. It's Japanese.
Okay, what inspired that name?
I just wanted a different name. something different from all the others.
Now, the babies were both delivered by nursing officer Marilee Smith, and the women received $200 gift certificates from the hospital along with a gift basket, courtesy of Miss Sharon Johnson of the Cookie Cutter Collection.
The mother of the 48-year independent baby, I would like to present to her and her beautiful baby boy from the Cookie Collection, an independent basket which entails an independent handmade baby quilt. I hope she enjoy it for the rest of their life, and I would also like to bless God for them for this day. Shanae, I would like to congratulate you on your baby boy that was born on the 40th year of independence, and I would like to give thanks to you and your baby girl.
Up next in sports, we got highlights from the Independence Regatta.
And we'll take a trip to Abaco for Independence there. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain. The shipping industry is expected to take a direct hit after news that Crowley, a U.S.-based company, will no longer offer direct services to the Bahamas because of the significant cost increases. Crowley advised its Bahamian customers in a letter that it was unable to cover cost increases on its Nassau to Jacksonville route. As of August 6, the company will no longer offer shipping services because its Nassau route is being considered unsustainable. Consumer protection, consumer rights, and obligations will be up for discussion for the benefit of residents in Eleuthera as the island's local Rotary branch hosts a forum tonight. The Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, or IRCA, is expected to talk more about its draft consumer protection regulations. Anyone interested in learning more can attend that meeting at 7 tonight at the Cancer Society Wellness Center in Palmetto Point. And CNN Money is reporting that in just a few more days, the Sweet Treat Twinkies is set to make its return to the market. One new tweak, it has a longer shelf life, which has increased from 26 to 45 days. The Sweet Treat lasts longer than regular baked goods because they're made without dairy products. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain.